Hi everybody, I'm Chris, and the last couple of weeks I've been posting videos about Salt Lake Comic Con, and I have now returned from Salt Lake Comic Con, so now I figured it's time for me to tell you guys about Salt Lake Comic Con. Before I tell you guys about my trip, I want to give a huge shout out to Blake Castleman. He was my point of contact for getting to know what panels I was on, what panels were available, what my schedule was, when my LC web series was going to be filmed or going to be screened at the film festival at the movie theater. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to him, and I hope that he invites me back next year because I would love to do it. So my Comic-Con experience actually starts on the Wednesday before the con. I started to drive up with a friend that day, and we were driving along, everything was working perfectly fine, and then right around 5:30 we got a flat, and we looked at the tire, and the entire middle of the tire was sheared off. It was very, very strange. So we looked in the back of the car, and there was no spare. The spare actually was flat as well. And so at that time, I was like, well, what do I do? And so I called my mom. And I was like, Mom, this is my situation. What do I do? And so we were trying to find a tire place that was open at that time because we were kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and thankfully we were able to find a place that was willing to stay open a half hour later if we could get there in time. We did have AAA, we did get towed finally, and we did make it to the tire place just in time. So thank you, Jace, and thank you Big O Tires for staying open later than what your hours usually are. So after we got the tire fixed, we actually drove the rest of the way up to Salt Lake. We made it up to the con and we were able to get some sleep. And the next day, we set up our booth, and that's when the panel started. I had my first panel on Thursday, and the people are there's a lot of people at Salt Lake Comic Con. And I used to, San Diego is a lot of people as well, but apparently Salt Lake is kind of blowing them out of the water right now. Yeah, so I did my first panel. My mom and my sister came to my panels, and that was really kind of fun. Actually, that day, we went home because I was trying to decide about when to film a video with them because they wanted to film a video, and we ended up filming a video at like 11:30 at night, so it was almost midnight. So I don't exactly know how the sound on that video is going to be. That video is going to be posted next week. So Friday was actually a busy day because that's when Elsie was screened, my web series, at the Cineplex Odeon. It was a huge movie theater. And I took some pictures, and that was just really fun to see Elsie on a big screen actually in a movie theater. Usually it's just a screen for the film festival, and this was actually a huge movie theater. It was actually kind of cool. Then on Saturday, that was crazy. I was making connections, and it was just all sorts of fun jazz. My first panel of the day was at 4 o'clock, and it was the LGBTQ panel. I'm very honored to be one of the panelists that was invited to be on the very first LGBTQ panel for Salt Lake Comic Con, and I hope that they keep that panel going for the future of geekdom. I think that would just be really fun. It was funny because on Thursday night I got an email from Blake, and he was like, can you moderate a panel for us on Saturday? And I said, sure, totally, of course. And so after the LGBTQ panel, I went to that panel, and the whole time we were all just kind of sitting there, and we were like, who's the moderator? Like 5 minutes in, we were still waiting for one of the panelists to show up, who never actually did show up, which was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, it's me! I'm the moderator. I let the panelists introduce themselves, and I kind of let the panelists talk. I wasn't one of the moderators / panelists on that one this time. I kind of let them talk a little bit, and that was good. So that was actually kind of fun to actually have a moderating experience as well. I did happen to record all of my panels that I was on. I'm going to post those on my second channel. The one thing that I will say about me being a panelist is I get really nervous even when there's a microphone in front of me. It's something I've got to work through, I know. There are questions that were asked, and I gave an opinion, and I didn't quite get that opinion out all the way, so I had to backtrack a little bit and bring it back to what I wanted to say. So if you do happen to go back and look at those panels, hopefully you're not offended by my first statement or whatever. It's just my nerves trying to be not nervous, whatever. So after the con was done, we drove down on Sunday, and we were doing great right up until around a little bit after Vegas. We hit a huge traffic jam. It was like 3 hours of our time that was taken out, and it was not a fun time. But other than that, it was a very smooth drive. I tried to play the license plate game. Growing up, my family actually used to drive down to like everywhere, to Arizona, and we drove everywhere for vacations. And we could always play the letters game, where we'd find a letter on a billboard or on a license plate or something, and you go A, B, C, D, but you can't move on until you find the next letter. And I actually usually like to keep it toward just license plates. It makes it a little harder. It does kind of give the driver something to do while there's nothing around in the desert. But when you're stopped in traffic and you have the same neighbors and you're stuck on a letter, it doesn't really get you anywhere, so it's kind of no point to the game. So anyway, that was my experience with Salt Lake Comic Con. I really can't wait to go back next year. I hope that they ask me back. I would be happy to do it. I'm from Salt Lake, and it's just really fun to go back to my hometown and see the geekdom that's around my hometown that I didn't know that was there when I was growing up. If you've never been to San Diego Comic Con and you've always wanted to go, I've actually never been to New York Comic Con, so I'm not sure how it compares, but Salt Lake Comic Con is, the crowd is pretty much the same. It's just as crazy. I do feel that there are a couple of kinks that the Salt Lake Comic Con is working through, but I think that year 3 will be a lot smoother. I feel like they are getting it down, and they're learning, and I think they're just in their baby steps. And so I think that if you weren't able to go this year, please try to go next year. You guys will have tons of fun, and there's always something going on. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys this week. I will be posting a video next week about me teaching my mom and my sister Cards Against Humanity. So that was actually kind of fun. And I guess, follow me all on my social media. I've got an Instagram, I've got a Twitter. Remember to subscribe. And I guess I will chat with you guys next week. Talk to you guys later. Bye.